This is Brooklyn, St. Michael with the School of Aquaponics, and this is Ask the Aquaponics Guide. Preventing you from becoming a biscuit headache grower. Now, some of you guys haven't heard that in a long time. I'm bringing that back out. We're gonna be going through some of the comments, some of the emails. I get a lot of questions and I just don't have time to answer all of them, typing and doing that all the time. So it's best that I get on here and provide an answer for everyone so everyone can hear at the same time, and I can give a reference for everyone to go to if they have a question that pertains to something that I've already went over. So we're jumping back into Ask the Aquaponics Guide. I'm pumped about this. At the end of this and any of the other videos, you guys leave comments, questions, and then I'll grab the more pertinent ones, and then I'll add those to the show and answer those so everyone else who has an ear can hear. All right, so with that being said, we're gonna jump into some of the questions right now. I got my computer with me, the laptop. I'm gonna be going in here and reading off some of the questions and then breaking it down. All right, come on, we about to talk aquaponics. I can feel it right now, hold on. Woo, let's get to the first question, right? This is from Amni Love. It says, so if the Nile tilapia grows faster, do they require more feeding and special care? So this is a question that comes off of the video that I made about tilapia. It's called Let's Talk Tilapia. Went over some of the, a few of the details about the tilapia species in there. And then I mentioned that the Nile tilapia do grow faster. And that is or they're the fastest growing tilapia species. And that's the primary reason that they're used for the majority of commercial aquaculture systems or aquaponic systems as well, right? You get fast growth, which means you can get to the market faster, which means you can get paid faster. And that's what it boils down to when we're talking about a commercial venture. But in this case, do they require more feed? The simple answer to that is no, they don't require more feed. So let's say if we have, we're growing tilapia, we're growing, a blue tilapia and a Nile tilapia. The Nile tilapia, just for instance, for example, we'll say that it takes maybe, let's just say 6 months to grow to a pound. And it has a feed conversion ratio of about 2. So that means you had to put 2 pounds of feed in order for it to get that 1 pound of growth, right? And it took 6 months. Blue tilapia, we'll just say, for example, that it may take 8 months. But the feed conversion ratio is the same. It still took 2 pounds to get that 1 pound of growth. The only difference is that Nile tilapia, you had to feed it. It took up that 2 pounds of feed at a faster rate. 6 months, in comparison to 8 months. So that's where the difference comes in. You're not going to be feeding it. You're not going to be feeding it more. You're just going to be feeding what you're supposed to feed it, but at a faster rate. That's pretty much all that's going to be happening. Now, is there any special type of care that's required for the Nile tilapia? It's going to be the same as any other type of tilapia species that we grow. The only thing that with the Nile tilapia is they're not going to be as hardy when it comes to lower temperatures. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. Pretty much below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, you're going to have some tilapia that are biting the dust, right? And opposed to a blue tilapia, which could, they can go down a few degrees lower with the lower temperatures. They can, they're a little bit more hardy when it comes to the water temperature, as far as the cold range goes. So that's with the Nile tilapia, just a faster growing species. And if you're in for, a commercial setup, or you're really trying to get, your tilapia out, pumped in and out, then you're gonna want the Nile tilapia. All right, so let's move on to the next one. The next one. From Swizzle 0011. I've been staring hard at that kale. Hold on 1 second, man. You got your eyes on my kale, man? You got to grow your own. Can't get your eyes on mine. Staring at mine ain't going to get you no veggies in your system. You got to get your own. Swizzle 0011. All right? I love your teachings, man. I have your book. Watch literally all your videos. I have a small system going now, and would definitely love to create something, perhaps commercial, once I get the land and capital. But Brooklyn, you have to do a live stream, for real. Everybody's got questions and you've got answers. In my case, I would like to hear your thoughts on microgreens and aquaponics, as I've heard you mention them before. Now, in the case with the live stream, listen, I've got this request a few times, and it's something that's in the back of my mind, but right now I just don't have the time for it. I just don't have the time to do live. I know y'all want to have a party. So y'all want to have the Aquaponics live stream party. You know, I might get to it, you know, maybe next year or the year after, but I just don't have the time. It doesn't make sense for me to do it right now, but it's still in the back of my mind. So I got that in there, and you know, whenever the time comes, we will have that Aquaponics party. We'll be on there live and partying, right? But as far as the microgreens goes, I'm not sure what video you're referring to when I discuss microgreens. I don't remember discussing too much in detail about microgreens, but maybe I have. So I'm not really sure about the video that you're talking about or what you're discussing. But here's the kicker with microgreens. Now, microgreens, for some of you guys that don't know, microgreens are they're pretty much the intermediate step between, you know, a sprout and like a baby salad green. They're that middle, you know, that middle partition in between there. So what happens with microgreens is, I'll try to break it down like this. A seed, it has an embryo in it, and in that embryo there's stored nutrients, right, that it has received from its parent plant. After the plant has went to seed and produced seed, that mother plant provides those nutrients to that to those seeds, and the embryo, it stores it. Now, as the seed begins to germinate, the embryo is what grows into the plant. It's what grows into the seedling. It's what produces the plant. Now you start having your apical meristem starts to grow. You start having cell division. That plant, it's using the stored nutrients that it gained from that it had in store. So once it starts to grow, it's using off all those nutrients, and it starts to get to, you know, it starts to develop its cotyledons and then its first true leaves. You know, around that area is when you start to harvest the microgreens. But at the same time is where it's just running out of its food storage. So as you're harvesting the microgreens, it's just now running out of its food storage. So if you're talking about growing it in an aquaponic system, it's really not going to do anything as far as like removing nutrient content from the aquaponic system, because it's using its own reserve, right? It's using its own reserve. So a lot of times you'll see people growing microgreens, and you know, they'll grow it hydroponically with just water, and they'll have like these some people use like cocoa fiber medium, or they'll use like some wicking strips that they grow it in, or they use like a potting mix that has relatively, you know, low amounts of nutrients in it, because the plant's not going to need it for microgreens. So that's one thing you have to keep in mind. If you're expecting it to balance out your system, then that's going to be something that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's not going to balance your system out, because it's not going to be removing the ammonia, the or the nitrate. It's not going to be taking up all those other nutrients in there, right? So you could take, if you want to, I mean, if you really want to, you can take system water, I guess, and just pour it on there and help it keep the medium. You can keep it moist, but you know, it's not going to be doing anything as far as that. So doing it in aquaponics, you know, it's really kind of futile. You know, it's really not going to do anything. So it's just up to you on that. If you have a marketing proposition where you want to say it's microgreens aquaponically grown, and that's what people want to hear, by all means, man, you know, go for it. But you know, it's not going to be creating that balance in aquaponics, growing it off of microgreens. So hopefully that helps you with that question on the microgreens, and you know, and hopefully that gives you guys a better perspective of what's going on. Now let's move on into the next one. This is from Salah Mohammadi. It says, "Hi sir, I have this problem with my system. The plants die because of iron deficiency. I did add iron, but they still die. Would you help me get it right? I don't have the tools to check pH, ammonia, ammonium, nutrients. Please, sir." So Mr. Salah Mohammadi, I'm going to present it to you this way, and for everyone else, hopefully you can get an understanding in the way that I'm going to pretty much break it down to you, so you'll be able to understand exactly what the real issue is in this question that you're asking, and then that you'll hopefully be able to fix it. And everyone else will get the hint and be able to fix it as well, if anyone else is in the same predicament. Now I'm going to present it like this. Let's say you have an air conditioner, and let's say you want it to blow cold air, but it's blowing hot air. Something is wrong with it. You don't know what's going on. Or maybe the outside fan on the air conditioning unit is not running, or maybe the air conditioner just doesn't turn on in general. You call over an AC technician. The AC technician is going to have a set of tools and equipment. Maybe the pressure gauge, your manifold, maybe electrical meters, maybe drills, and other types of tools that's going to allow the AC technician to do a proper diagnosis on the problem. Same thing if you go to the doctor. The doctor is going to have a set of tools as well. You're going to see the nurse first. They're going to have their stethoscope. They're going to have, a blood pressure monitor. And they're going to be able to use those tools and equipment to allow them to have an accurate and rapid diagnosis of whatever it is you may have. If you have maybe something wrong with your leg, you may have broken some bones, or, you have torn some ligaments. X-rays are what they're going to use to give a proper diagnosis. When it comes to aquaponics and plants, water quality, the aquaponic grower, the high-class aquaponic grower, is going to have a certain set of tools and equipment in order to properly know how his or her system is functioning. Without those set of tools, you're going to be running around like a chicken with the head cut off. And you're going to have questions like we have here that have no definitive answer without the proper equipment and tools to use to test some of the variables that we need. So for instance, your iron situation. You have an iron problem, or you think you have an iron problem. We need to be able to test at least 2 variables to understand, or 2 water quality parameters, in order to understand what's going on with the system, right? We need at least the pH, because there's 2 or 3 problems that could be happening that I can think of right now. We need to know the pH, for one, because you can have your iron, you could be adding iron in there, like I add, for instance, I add FeDTPA, iron chelate that is only workable up to a pH of 7.5, right? So if your pH is above 7.5, which you may very well have a pH that's in the 8 or 8.5 range, this chelated iron, I have it right here actually, this chelated iron, you can pour it in your system until your neck falls off. And it's not going to do anything if your pH is out of range. We're not going to know if your pH is out of range, and if that's the culprit, if we don't have a pH testing instrument. So your pH could be high, and you could be adding all types of iron in there, and the plants are unable to absorb that iron, right? It's not being placed in a proper pH, within a proper pH parameter, to where it allows it to be able to be available to the plants in the system. That's one of the issues there that you could have. The second issue that you could be having is that you could be adding iron in the system. I don't know how big your system is. You could be adding 1 tablespoon. Maybe you have a big, large system. I'm not sure. Maybe you're adding 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, and maybe you think that's adequate. But the reality is, it could be that you're under dosing your system. And the only way you're going to really know that is if you have an iron checker. You need to have an iron checker. I use a basic iron checker, a Hanna iron checker, that's going to tell you the parts per million of iron, the concentration of iron in your system. It's going to take out all the guessing work, right? It's going to take it out for you. So if you check your iron right now, you may think that you're doing some damage, or you're doing a good job. You're putting it in there. You may think that it's up to par, but it could be. You may take a test right now, it may be 0.25 parts per million. You're going to need at least 1 part per million, minimum 1 part per million. You can slide by with that. Realistically, you want to maintain around 2 to 3 parts per million of iron in your system. for proper growth, right? So you can be underdosing your system right now and have no clue, but you need an iron checker in order to make sure that your system is properly concentrated with iron. Now, if those two are not the culprit, your pH is within range, and say your iron is within the proper concentration, then we know that it's most likely it's not. We can eliminate iron as the problem that you're having, but we can't even eliminate that because it could be something else. It could be something else. Some symptoms look similar, but we can't even eliminate that if we don't have the proper tools and equipment. Just the same way that the AC technician can't come into your house and properly diagnose you. If he came into your house and probably tried to diagnose your AC without any equipment, you're gonna be looking at him like, my man, go get you some equipment and come back. With the car dealer as well, same thing. He just takes a look at it, winging it. He may be right. That's not to say that he may not be right. He may be right when he does his diagnosis, but it's still not, you have a much better chance of being accurate if you have the right equipment. So with that being said, just go and get you the equipment. I can't give you a proper advice if we don't even have any of these parameters. That's just gonna send you around in the circles, right? So that's what anyone else out there as well. Get you the proper equipment. If you're an aquaponic grower and this is you're something that you're serious about doing, get you the right equipment and save yourself the headache and the hassle. This is something easy that we can, get rid of right here. And you probably spent weeks on this, trying to figure out what it is, and all it is a few tests, boom, 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 and you're done. Right? So get your right equipment, all right? Salah, Mohammadi. All right, so let's move on to the next one. It's the last one for right now. This is from Lisa Wood. It says, is there a bead filter for a small system that does not cost a lot? I'm trying to start a backyard aquaponic system. There's so much different information out there. I want to make sure I get the correct thing that I need to run my system efficiently. Now, this is a good question, but it's a question that requires some clarification, because I don't know what you mean by, is there an expensive bead filter out there? I don't know what inexpensive is to you. That's a relative term. So one thing that might be inexpensive to one person may be expensive to another, right? So if you're looking at a bead filter from AST, the smallest version, which maybe probably a good amount of you guys out there would probably be using, the smallest version is somewhere around, I think it's $450 to $500 for that's the cheapest version. There's another company, I can't remember the name right now. I'll put it in here when I edit the video. They have cheaper bead filters, but the thing is, I'm not sure the quality of those filters, so I can't vouch for those. But they are cheaper. But you have to keep in mind, cheaper quality, you get cheaper results. That's usually the correlation. But it's not always the correlation, but it typically is. So if someone has any experience with the other bead filter, then you can let me know. But I don't have that experience with it, so I really don't know. But it's around $450 to $500 for the cheapest one from AST, the bubble bead filter. Now, I don't know if that's expensive to you. Some people, that's like an arm and a leg. They're about to break their neck trying to afford that. To other people, that's like, that's it. So it's a relative. So I can't tell you if it's cheap or not to you. You have to answer that question. But it's around $450 to $500, and then you have yourself a bead filter. All right, so these are the questions right now for this week, or for right now. Like I said, you guys can submit your questions, your comments, or whatever you're looking to get answered, and I'll be able to help you guys out. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have and being able to provide information to the best of my ability to you guys to help you guys get to growing, man, because you guys need to be growing. Y'all missing out, man. I got some fruits that I'm about to be experimenting with right now. Of course, I got the leafy greens, Swizzle 0011. Get your eyes off my kale, man. Grow your own. I still got my Swiss chart. I'm about to munch on these. 50,000 vegetables coming up right after this. I got some other Asian greens. It's heating up right now, so the selection is limited. But I got some greens growing. We got the fruits growing. These about to pop up. I'm gonna see how these do in this system. I got my hypothesis on how I think these are gonna grow in here, but we're gonna have to see how that turns out. You know, we got the fish, of course, everything is popping off still, but you guys are missing out, man. Aquaponics is fire. It's fire, man. Once you get this thing going, you got the right stuff, man, and you know, you got at least the fundamentals down. This thing is like a piece of cake, man. It's like, I don't even know what's going on. Everyone should have something like this. But anyways, with that being said, you guys leave a question, comment, and I'll try to feature it on the next video. All right, this is Brooklyn St. Michael with the School of Aquaponics reminding you to stop walking and get you a car.